Good morning, cult members, and welcome to the Pop Culture Cult. I'm Sean.
I'm Janice.
And this is TV Time, episode 14.
14.
Woo!
Woohoo!
We're preteens. Or we're just teenagers. This is our TV-based news and opinionated talk show.
Pretty much always opinionated. But...
Pretty much always opinionated. We ask you guys to do two things around here. One is to subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is really easy. You just hit the bell, and share with all your friends. It's pretty easy. We also have a Patreon. That's in the description. You should sign up for it because we're doing all kinds of fun things on there.
Yep. Gonna do some stuff today.
I'm doing stuff today for the Patreon. So we wanted to get into some of the TV stuff that we saw this week. A lot of this is going to be Netflix based.
Yeah,
because we don't watch a whole lot of network television, and so we're gonna be talking about Netflix a lot. So we want
and some Hulu. Well, the only reason it's Hulu is because we don't have History Channel on.
Right. That's going to be an interesting conversation too. But let's start off with something that came out on Wednesday this week, and that is Netflix announced that Steve Carell is teaming up with the creators of The American Office, the American version of The Office.
Of The Office, yep.
To do a show called Space Force.
Space Force!
Now, this is not a, Lost in Space or, that kind of cheesy whatever.
Okay.
What it is I'll actually read you what they said in the video. On June 18th, 2018, the federal government announced the creation of the 6th Major Division of the United States Armed Forces. The goal of this new branch is, quote, to defend satellites from attack and, quote, perform other space-related tasks or something. This is the story of the men and women who have to figure it out.
Satellites are being attacked? By
aliens?
Whom? What?
The Chinese-Russian coalition of aliens and space rocks. So this is going to be a comedy about Trump announcing Space Force with Steve Carell as the head.
Right.
And it's going to be them trying to figure out how to make Space Force happen. I'm so in.
Of course you are.
I like Steve Carell, and he has he's been doing a lot of dramatic stuff lately.
Yeah.
But him coming back and working with the people have been clamoring for an Office reboot or not a reboot but a reunion.
Yeah.
And
they've said it's not happening.
It's not happening.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's that is a really good show. We never watched it. It was a really good show, but it's done its time.
Yeah, and everybody's moved on, right?
Right.
There's several people from that show that have moved on to bigger and better things.
Right. So, does this make sense to you?
Sure. Whatever.
Is it kind of timing-wise weird with Trump still in office, and they will probably be making a lot of funds, making a lot of fun of the whole process, and
nope. If we're gonna allow the president to post on Twitter, then fair game.
That's fair. I could get behind that sentiment. I just like when they first announced this, I was like, okay, they're gonna do another serious sci-fi show.
Like Lost in Space.
And like some of the other stuff that's been going on. And I was like, I don't know if I love sci-fi and I love space stuff, so I'm going to watch it. But the idea that they're going to do a comedy is so much better. And it's like The Right Stuff or like all those 60s Apollo mission kind of. I have that kind of feel. I think they all have that feel, but in modern times. Like the guys in NASA trying to figure stuff out. Like, here's a sock and some duct tape, and let's make sure they don't explode in 13. And
maybe.
Okay. All right.
Or maybe we're just gonna poke fun on the fact that we suddenly need to defend our satellites from attack.
Right. And the Chinese just put a rover on the dark side of the moon so they could build a base. So
right.
Alien rocks. So
They're gonna make a giant slingshot, and they're gonna slingshot moon rocks at our satellites. You heard it here first.
Ooh, we're totally satire this morning. I like to see how it's going on.
We've both had just a lot of coffee.
We've had coffee. So the other, like I said, a lot of Netflix stuff. Another thing that came out this last week is that Netflix and Sean Levy, who is one of the producers of Stranger Things, are teaming up together to bring back Unsolved Mysteries.
Okay.
Now, Robert Stack, who was the guy from
the
voiceover guy,
yes.
he passed away. So I'm interested who they were to bring in, because you have to have some deep voiced guy to come in and walk through the foggy back alleys in a trench coat to talk about Unsolved Mysteries. However, they are going to do Unsolved Mysteries essentially the way it was. So,
okay,
like weird murders and aliens and ghost stories and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Did you ever watch that show?
I watched the shit out of that show.
It was a really, really cool show.
Yeah.
And probably a little ahead of its time. That investigative reporting using dramatization.
I don't know if I would say it was ahead of its time, but it definitely opened up all the Dateline, not Unsolved Mysteries, because that's what we're talking about. There was another one too.
Who was that came out at the same time? The not Murder She Wrote. What the guy whose kid got murdered and he won.
Yeah. I was thinking of that.
I
was thinking of that one too.
We'll think of it as soon as the episode's
America's
over.
Most Wanted.
America's Most Wanted.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
And that kind of a little more. I mean, Unsolved Mysteries was real, right? But a little more supernatural.
Yeah.
And then they kind of took on more of the real life murder mystery kind of stuff with America's Most Wanted and Dateline and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I think ahead of its time in that it kind of paved the way for those types of shows.
I liked it too that they told the story as they knew it and then let you kind of figure out if it was real, if it's not real, if it was just a delusion, whatever.
Yeah. And that was kind of Robert Stack's part.
To kind of let you question it.
Yes. Is this aliens? Is it pranksters? Is it yeah.
They're going to do 12 episodes with each episode focusing on its own mystery.
Yep.
And then they're going to do real life reenactments like they did in the original show. And so the question was, in the article I was reading, because Sean Levy has a lot of pull in Hollywood right now because of Stranger Things and some of the other things that his company is doing, which I think is called Levy 21 or something like that is his production company. I wonder how many known actors are going to come in and do stuff.
Yeah,
I would totally go. If you go film for a week or whatever, I would totally do that.
Yeah, I think a lot of kind of helps a lot of actors today with all that kind of stuff, right? You've got downtime in between big movie projects or big TV projects that consume a lot of your time. So you've got these, hey, I'm available for a month, and and it gets you out there, keeps you fresh, and keeps people seeing you. And I think it's awesome that they do this kind of stuff.
It would be fun. This is going to be fun series too, because they're going to it's Netflix. They'll drop all 12 at once. So they'll be totally binge worthy, fun. Let's see what happens. Now, one of the issues that came up this week is that Netflix announced that they're raising prices, and this is going to be our main topic this week, is Netflix raising its prices because they are throwing every dollar they can find in the couch against the wall to try to get everything to stick.
Yeah.
Now, I don't necessarily have a problem with the $2 raise that we're going and cost that we are going to have.
Right.
However, the internet did explode. Because the thing that most of the people on Twitter were saying and it's a completely legitimate reason, is if Netflix stopped throwing everything against the wall and hoping that something sticks, maybe they wouldn't be spending so much money on all of these different things, so they wouldn't have to raise our prices.
Yes. And I agree. I mean,
I don't disagree.
We're not going to cancel for a $2 increase, although I think this is the second increase we've had in like a year.
Yeah.
Maybe 18 months. Because I know it just went from like $9.99 to $11.99, and now we're going to $13.99. Yeah. So, but I wholeheartedly agree. So I get the notifications on YouTube. I rang the bell, so I get all the notifications, and you can ring the bell here too, from Netflix, and I probably get 3 to 4 notifications a day of stuff that's coming out, and most of it's new, and most of it's stuff I don't care about, and I mean, and it's stuff that nobody I don't hear about, so I don't think that a whole lot of, there's like 15 of them, and then one is
Bird Box,
sex education, or Bird Box,
sex
where
education's supposed to be really good.
Where you do hear some buzz and you hear people talking about, but that's not, if it's 20 and there's 2, that's
that ratio doesn't work. I don't think it works right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of shows out there like OA. I watched it. I was intrigued, but that came out like 2.5 years ago, at least, because I think I was
Altered
not
Carbon.
working.
We got like halfway through.
Well, Altered Carbon was newer, so OA. There hasn't been a new season.
Right.
So, okay, kind of figure out more of we are committed to making 3 seasons of this.
Right.
And dump the money into that and stop doing the throwing everything against the wall.
A bunch of one episode or one season kind of things.
Stuff that, yeah. I agree. $2 isn't, we won't cancel. If it goes up again, though, soon, the next 2 years, that's $17.99. Or wait, we're $13.99. So now we're $15.99. So now we're more than anything. I mean, it's already more than HBO, right? Although we get that packaged in, so it's not bad.
I find it interesting that the way their model is set up is they've been spending hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, but there's been no official word, and if they're making a profit, if they're losing money, because
they're losing money. They've talked about it.
Have they talked about it?
Yeah, they're losing money. I just read a thing last week. I should have sent it to you. They $100 million. They're having
in the hole.
Yeah, they're having to. That's why they raised, because they're in the hole.
Right. Well, it doesn't help that they're spending $100 million on that Irishman, where they're de-aging Al Pacino and Robert Duvall. Robert De Niro.
De Niro?
Yes, De Niro and Pacino together.
Bobby. Is there a clamoring for that show? Movie?
There's been a clamoring for the two of them in a movie together where they're playing gangsters, but and they're de-aging them as part of the process, which is why it's so expensive. And Scorsese is directing it, I believe. But the idea that Netflix is, I'm okay if they start pulling back on doing everything. They've been trying to do everything to get the next Stranger Things, the next Lost in Space, the next that Bird Box did really, really well for them. But most everybody watched Bird Box already had Netflix. It wasn't I have to go get Netflix to watch Bird Box.
Yeah, and
you
that's
already have it.
Kind of where I feel like they're at this point. They've probably pretty much saturated the market. They might still be getting new subscribers here or there, but at this point,
they've been trying to expand outside of the U.S. and European markets
for new members.
So the Latin American market and China and stuff like that.
That's fine. I mean, I feel like we would get more out of. I know that they're trying to move to more Netflix controlled programming.
Right.
Cool. It doesn't have to be 50 million. It can be 1 million. You don't have to make 50 million Netflix-based things.
Right,
you can make
right.
1 million,
Right.
Over exaggeration. And then maybe some of the stuff that you can't find other places, for us at least, like we keep going and looking for movies that we want to watch that we've never seen before, like older stuff, not stuff that came out in the movie theater even, a year or two ago, but stuff that came, Unbreakable. We had Unbreakable. We had it on DVD somewhere along the line. We didn't have it anymore.
Right.
So then when we got ready to go watch Glass, we wanted to rewatch Unbreakable and Split, and didn't have our copy of Unbreakable, and so we went out there looking anywhere. This movie came out in the 90s. We should be able to find it for free on Hulu or Netflix or Amazon. No, we ended up paying $3.99 to watch it on Amazon.
And they rotate their stuff through and everything. That makes doing that makes sense. But at some point in time, they have to contract back down. They expanded so fast and so big. Yeah. They have to contract back down. And I'm never going to fault them for experimenting. This is why Netflix has been doing so well up to this point, is because they have experimented with, like Stranger Things, like Bird Box, like Bright, and stuff like that, where it's no regular production company is ever going to okay any of that.
Right.
Or put it in places where, because it's so outside of the box.
But you don't have to release everything right now.
Well, and you don't have to be, how many series are they working on right now that we don't even know about?
That's what I'm saying.
They just pull back a little bit. Pull back a little bit. I understand it. I'm okay with being aggressive and trying to push and push and push, but just pull back a little bit. Let everything kind of filter itself out. Kind of what the DCEU is doing right now, where they're just kind of letting everything filter out. Aquaman makes $1 billion, okay, and now we got Wonder Woman coming out. Just let it sit for a couple of years. I know that's a really hard thing for businesses, because if you don't show profit or growth, then you're in trouble.
It's the whole 5% year-over-year growth. At some point, the market no longer sustains that. So you need to figure that out, and you probably need to figure it out now for 2 years from now, not 2 years from now when you're actually $100 million in the hole.
So as much as we really like the Netflix stuff, I just
there's too much out there.
There's just too much. We can't keep up. We try, like there's a ton of stuff that's out there that we just can't watch because we don't have time because we have real jobs. So if you want to sponsor us to stay home and watch everything, we're totally okay with that.
But see the Patreon and the link.
But the other problem too is some stuff just doesn't interest us.
Right. Well, when there is so much content, you've got to be super picky about what you, and so then some stuff that's actually good may slip through the cracks, or we've got to wait until others watch it and say, hey, this is really good. And then we're like, oh, okay, suddenly now that's on my radar.
We Punisher drops Friday. We just haven't had the chance to even get into it, and we can't even get into it till maybe the week after next.
Yeah.
And so it's like one of those. We're at a point where it just doesn't make any. Some stuff just doesn't make any sense. And I really love the first season of Punisher.
Yeah,
I really
want to watch it.
It's
not that we don't. We just got other things we've got to get done.
Yeah. So, so if you already have Netflix, it's coming. If you're a new subscriber, and all the money, the increases are immediate. So they're happening on your next bill. So they are going to go up, and
they said within the next 3 months if you're a current subscriber.
Yeah,
and then if you're a new subscriber, it will be. This is the new price.
I read the article too that said that, and then I read another article that says it's immediate. So what's immediate to, whatever. So
whatever.
We want to do two quick reviews. The first one, we're just going to talk about it for a second. I did a trailer reaction for it. The Game of Thrones last weekend dropped a little teaser trailer out of the blue on a Sunday night, and it's called The Crypts of Winterfell. I will add it to the end of this trailer, or this episode, for the trailer reaction. There's a bunch of poo in a minute, and I'm expecting them to do a bunch of these 1 minute kind of teaser things.
Yeah. maybe once a month or something.
Yeah, until we get we'll get one with we've got the one with the Starks, and then we'll have one with Dany, and we'll have one with Tyrion, and certain
and the White Walkers maybe showing them.
So and they won't be at least what it looks like in this trailer, and I think they're going to do it is they're separately filmed from the show. So the stuff we're going to see in those trailers, we're not going to see in the show, which is, I like that. I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, that's fine. Yep, it was cool.
So one of the shows that we have been anticipating to come out on History Channel this year is called Project Blue Book. It's got Alden, so I cannot remember his last name right now, but Littlefinger from Game of Thrones, speaking of Game of Thrones. And it is the Project Blue Book from the 60s investigating aliens.
Right.
And it is a...
well, the point was to debunk the aliens because after the crash in Roswell, the nation was, everything's coming at us, and so it was the government trying to kind of
try to control the narrative. Exactly. And so they did the show. The first episode came out last week. I don't know how I feel about it.
Okay. I liked it.
It was, and the reason I'm saying I'm struggling with it is because what I thought it was going to be is not what it actually ended up being. I thought it was going to be much more like Unsolved Mysteries kind of thing, where
or X-Files.
And it actually feels more X-Files than it does actually Unsolved Mysteries.
Yeah.
I thought of it as they're going to do sightings and talk to people and do reenactments and that kind of storyline, even though it's set in the 60s, where they go to people, investigate and talk about real things that happened. So far in the first episode, they talked about real things, but it's much more X-Files with unneeded story arcs. It kind of felt like
it's the pilot.
Right, and that's kind of where I'm at right now, where we'll give it 3 episodes and see how it goes.
You got to do some story building.
You got to do some world building, and they did that.
Yeah.
And
it's much more like, and we need to look this up. There was a show before X-Files, and I feel like it was called Project Blue Book. It was like in the 90s, or maybe even before that, 80s. And they went and did kind of they were actual cases from
I can't remember
the government project. And this feels more like that. And so I'm wondering if this is actually a reboot of that show.
I'm interested to see how they continue on with the story. I specifically want it to be, let's actually look into what actually happened. We know that there's been sightings and things like that of UFOs. Not necessarily aliens, but unidentified flying objects.
Well, but that episode did. They went and talked about... Okay, spoilers if you haven't... I don't know, this is a spoiler, but the plane, the pilot, that happened. That was from the...
Yeah, I guess it did, yeah.
Project Blue Book, if that's what it was actually called, Files.
That actually was what the project was called.
Yeah,
it was
so
Blue Book,
that what happened to that plane and that pilot was supposedly from those files.
Right.
There was just this little backstory thing kind of going on. With,
add some dramatization to the show a little bit. So that makes sense. I don't know. Pilots can be kind of wishy-washy. We've talked about this before. The Arrow pilot was kind of...
most shows, if you go back and watch
that way, and the pilots
you're
were
like, oh my god, this was horrible.
Yeah, but as you get back around, I mean, give it a chance to breathe and give it a chance. But I'm okay with it. I want to watch some more, but I wasn't like blown away. So that was just kind of, I don't know.
You're just wrong.
It's not the first time. Probably today. The last thing that we're going to talk about today is one of our favorite shows from a year ago, 2017, was Taboo, which was on FX. Was it FX or TNT? TNT had Alienist. FX had Taboo with Tom Hardy, set in Victoria, London. Lots of top hats and murder. Very dark, very strange. Well, the show producer, showrunner on that is Stephen Knight. And he did an interview with Frosty at Collider, and he confirmed that they are actually working on season 2. They have the scripts, everything is done, and they should start shooting at the end of this year or early next year. And part of the problem that why they're not getting right into it is because, well, everybody who's involved with the show, Tom Hardy, Steve Knight, all that, they're busy. They're wanted quantities within Hollywood.
Yeah.
Stephen Knight said in the interview with Frosty that they always saw this as a 3-season arc.
Yeah, and if you watched
west.
it, the finale was
cliffhanger.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I'd call it a cliffhanger, but
open-ended storytelling.
Yes, it was like you're like, okay, and there's more to this. So yeah.
So I know how I know how I feel, and I know you really liked it too. It's very dark. It's very gruesome at times for cable television.
It's very Peaky Blinders.
It's very
which is Netflix.
And Stephen Knight was part of the Peaky Blinders too,
and Tom Hardy was in Peaky Blinders.
Yeah, too. So it's got that time. But do you understand why they're taking so long for this?
Well, I'm sure Tom Hardy's working on something. I mean, it doesn't make me happy. I wanted something this year because it has been since 2017 since we saw it. I was hoping maybe fall because it is on cable. Yeah. So they tend to follow a little bit more of that fall spring schedule thing. I was hoping maybe fall. I understand it, but that's the price we pay for having people who are busy in the film industry.
Right.
TV shows.
And I think there was only like 10 episodes.
Yeah, it was short. 12 at the most.
Yeah. So the problem I'm having with it being so long is it wasn't hugely watched. It was more binged after it came out and stuff. And now it's going to be almost a 2-year gap.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering.
But it's FX. I don't know that they care. It will get people to rewatch the first one. And if they build some buzz, commercials and stuff around the second season, people that didn't watch the first season may go, oh, hey, FX has a pretty healthy app.
Yeah.
So, getting people to go out and rewatch the first season on the app and get buzz, I don't think they have a problem with it.
Yeah. Anytime you say Tom Hardy's in a TV show, people are going to come to it no matter what it is.
Yeah.
So that's going to help a lot. So that's our show this week for TV time. Are you guys interested in Taboo Season 2, Game of Thrones? Have you watched Project Blue Book? And really what we want to know, though, is are you okay with paying a little bit more for your Netflix? Do you think, and I want you guys to tell us in the comments, do you really think you could live without Netflix right now? Probably not.
We all have to band together and cancel our Netflix for a month.
We need pitchforks and torches until they stop raising the prices. No? Okay. So please tell us if you are a Netflix subscriber and what's your threshold of not having it anymore. Please leave us a comment. Subscribe to this channel. Hit the bell for notifications. Sign up for our Patreon. We're going to go do our Patreon stuff right now. And follow us on our social media network. It's all in the description. Just click on all the links and share with all of your friends. And until next time, good night, cult members.